Enough respect here, I mean, we network across the globe, cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
Welcome back to our third and final segment of the Tech Zone. So happy to have you here. Don't forget, you can always connect with me at paulonwheels.com, paulonwheels.com. And don't forget, if you missed any part of the show, you can check it out on YouTube. Go to my YouTube page, subscribe, Paul Amadeus Lane, KMET 1490 ABC News Radio. Go to their page, check out the audio podcast, live stream, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, you can connect with me. Well, like we talked about in the beginning part of the show, there is a company out there that's helping fuel merchandising performance every day in every store. So we're going to talk about that right now with the CMO. Now, for some of you out there who may not know what CMO means, Chief Marketing Officer. We're joined by James Lamberty. Hey, James, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, Paul. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with me, my friend. So let's talk about Curie and just the awesome innovation that you guys have out there.
Yeah. So, before we get into Curie specifically, I think it's good to explain and relate to people out there what's happening in the physical world, right? In these stores that we go into every day, right? Whether we're picking up a 6-pack of beer or going in to buy some steaks for the barbecue on, coming up here on Labor Day weekend. All of us is kind of experiencing as consumers out there, we care a little more about health, right? We want fresh products and good ingredients more and more than we have in the past. And some of the younger generation, the generation of 20 and 30-year-olds, their styles and their habits are changing a lot, right? They're independent brands. They have their own personalities, their own attitudes. They want indie brands. They want fresh. They want variety. They want health, right? All these trends are kind of impacting, when you think about it, the physical world, the stores that we go into, and you don't even know it as consumers, but that's what's happening.
And James, you bring up a very good point, because I was looking on one of the financial shows the other day and saying that like some of the giants like Target, JCPenney's, they are reporting losses now, which they normally would do, but then you have like Amazon and all these other online businesses out there who are thriving.
That's right, and that's the third big trend, right? So you've got this digital world emerging, and the convenience of from our laptops and computers being able to purchase and buy what we want and have Amazon Prime deliver it overnight the next day with no shipping costs, right? So that's another key trend here, and all of this sort of has swirled around and led to why Curie exists. When you think about a lot of the news, a lot of the hype, we all talk a lot about e-commerce and mobile technology and all the cool things that are happening, all of the cool things we can do. I'm sure you cover that a lot on your show, but this boring old world of going into a physical store is actually something that we can transform with the same technology, and that's what Curie that's what Curie is doing, and I think that's what we want to talk about here.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that, because I still like going into stores sometimes, but I don't like dealing with the attitudes that I have to deal with in stores. And James, you probably know what I'm talking about. The salesperson or the clerk who's having a bad day, and you have to deal with their attitude, and it just kind of just messes with your day too. So
that's right, and I think that's what these retailers are trying to deal with. And credit to Target. You mentioned Target. Target is a good example of somebody who's really going to benefit from what Curie is doing, which we can get into and explain. But Target, in fact, is one of the few major retailers that's actually done pretty well on Wall Street recently, and they've done it by focusing on millennials. And exactly to your point, they've done it by focusing on creating a really positive experience in store, right? We all still want to connect as people in the physical world. So let me explain a little bit of how Curie works and how we're helping, that physical or that retail experience that you're describing be better.
Absolutely.
So, these devices we all walk around with, I'll wave my particular device in the air online here. This technology, when you think about it, it's in your pocket, it's in your hand. So what Curie has done is we've actually enrolled about 500,000 consumers. I mean, these are people like me and you, right? We all have these devices now. And when you're going into a 7-Eleven or a Target or a Walmart or a Safeway or wherever you're going into to shop, this is with you. And what we will do is offer you $5 or $10 through an app that you can pick up on iTunes or on the Google Play Store to go to the beer aisle, for example.
Absolutely.
Take some photos, answer a few questions about what you're seeing as a shopper, right, in that store, in that environment. And that data and information is then pulled back from this device to a big data cloud that compiles the information and data and makes it available to Target, to Procter and Gamble, to Coca-Cola, to Budweiser, huge brands and companies that we all know and love every day. And that data and information allows them to do a much better job in creating a positive experience for you as a shopper in the physical world. So it's a cool example, Paul, of us taking, this technology that you hear about doing all these crazy things and helping it solve a really basic real world problem that we all can relate to.
And James, it's refreshing to hear that because, growing up, when we wanted to express how we felt about a company or a store, we had to stay online for like hours to get to the right person to talk about any concerns. But nowadays, with social media, with the way that apps are now, we're talking about some real-time results that these corporations and companies can have, so they can basically get on the ball and
That's right.
and make the shopping experience a little bit more pleasurable.
That's right. You don't want to, think about it as a shopper, you don't want to walk in looking for your favorite, Budweiser or IPA, if that's what you prefer, and have it not be there, right? That's really frustrating, and that's where you go back to your computer and shop online. Retailers don't want that. And so you're exactly hitting on the key here is in order for these companies like Target, Walmart, all these physical retailers to remain really relevant and important, they got to make sure that store experience is great for me and you. And we as a capability or company have invented this concept of performance-driven merchandising, right? And merchandising is just to explain to your audience what merchandising means, right? Merchandising is when you walk into a store, that experience you have as a shopper, essentially that's merchandising. What's on display, right? Does that display look really cool? Is there beers paired up with my steaks?
Absolutely.
Is my ketchup and mustard next to my hot dog buns? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing that kind of throws off the shopping experience when like let's take for example like cereal. The milk should not be so far away from the cereal that you have to walk halfway to the store to get it. It should be kind of in close proximity, kind of like soft drink, potato chips, beer, steaks. It has to be in a way that that makes it a little more easier for us to find.
That's right. And to do what we do, the other kind of, I think, important or interesting thing happening here is something called the shared economy. You maybe talked about this, but great example of this is Uber and Lyft,
Absolutely.
right? You think about what we're doing is, we as a company are listing shoppers like yourself, like me, like your listeners. You can make a few bucks, right? You can make $50 or $100 a week at sometimes. And that information is going to go right back to these manufacturers to try to make that in-store experience better. So that's the transformation that we're having on this industry. And it used to be, good example is the guy who drives the trucks for Pepsi, right? He's got a route every morning.
Right.
He gets in the truck. He's driving around. What he used to do is have to check every store routinely to figure out what he needed to do that day. Now he's going to go into that store with the understanding of this particular retail environment needs the display fixed. This particular environment needs, the cooler is not working and I don't have, I got to help solve that problem. So for these companies that like a Pepsi or a Coke or AB InBev, for these companies to do well in this age of e-commerce and millennials being interested in indie brands, they got to be really efficient about how they use their workforce and how they merchandise their stores. So we add tremendous value working with shoppers and consumers like yourself to do that. So it's a really kind of cool invention, if you will.
And James, we can go back just a little bit to what we talked about with, how shoppers and everyone's could make a little money by doing this. And you talk about keeping the millennials engaged. And let's face it, millennials, they like money. So this kind of keeps them engaged. And how does the process work? You talked about downloading an app. Now, are there certain stores that are listed in there, or you can go to any stores who are not listed in there, and then you guys can take that data back and say, look, some of our followers are ones who have our apps, they're saying this about your store. How does that work?
Yeah, so how it works is we're not so much collecting opinions from consumers, just to be clear. Really, the consumers, we refer to them as shifters. And so those shoppers sign up and download the app. It's called Easy Shift. It's an app that any of you can get today by going to iTunes or Google Play. Download it on your Android or your iPhone device. And we have a relationship with you as a company, right? And we'll alert you and say, hey, Paul, we know that you live near, an Albertsons or a Safeway. Next time you're there, for $5, take a few photos of the beer aisle and answer a couple questions. And that is the mechanism by which, one, you as a shopper can make a few bucks. You're not going to make a living on this, but you're going to have a little extra cash in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And then that data is going to come back to Curie, and we're going to organize it and put it in a piece of software that allows, Budweiser or, these huge companies to access the information, look at the data, and act upon it, right? And I'm just giving examples of companies that might use us. So we have about 100 different manufacturers using us. But that's the idea. That's how it would work. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's really easy to be involved as a shopper. And we're not asking for opinions so much. It's just leveraging the fact that we have a relationship with you. A little extra change or money always helps. And the data that you're able to provide at the scale at which we're able to do it from a business perspective. I mean, just yesterday, we were in probably 10 or 15,000 stores. That's an enormous scale opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
And that's real important to these companies that are working with us.
And when you look at companies that are starting up, just as Curie, what I like about is finding out the backstory behind it. Was it something that the founders saw that was missing in their own shopping experience, and they were like, you know what, I'm smart enough to put this together, so I'm going to get a team together. We're going to do this so that the frustration that I may have, the next shopper will not have. Yeah, I mean,
the story of Curie is a great one. It's pretty much what you described. It's the founders, a guy named Justin Behar and a gentleman named John Mecklenburg up here in Silicon Valley, up here in San Francisco. They went out looking for essentially a dark spot in the world of data and information. And what they realized is that the retail world, right, when a consumer walks into a store, globally, there's $13 trillion that changes hands at that moment. 13 trillion, right? And there's a three-way relationship going on. There's the consumer or shopper, you and me. There's the products in store we want to buy. And then there's the retailer selling them. And the epiphany they had was, with that amount of commerce and money exchanging hands, and given the shopping experiences we're all, having, like the one you described, if we actually provided data and lit up literally the merchandising environment of these stores, that would be worth, that would be worth a lot, because we could really improve that shopper experience. And for all parties involved, all of us as shoppers, the retailer, the manufacturer, everybody benefits when that experience is better. And so that was really what led to the invention of Curie, and the pursuit of Curie was this dark spot and this enormous economic opportunity, just as entrepreneurs and businessmen, that they wanted to pursue.
And James, I love hearing the backstory behind it, because it really puts a face or a cause behind the company, and I'm so glad that you shared that with us. Now, I'm looking on your website right now, on Curie's website. Can you explain what the Curie Academy is?
Yeah, so the Curie Academy is whenever you have a massive transition for an industry. I mean, we're talking about companies like Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. I mean, these are 150, 200-year-old companies in some cases. When you bring to them a brand new stream of data that can literally impact every aspect of these multi-billion-dollar corporations, the change within those companies, the change management is dramatic. So Curie Academy is essentially a way for us to help the industry and our clients manage that change by educating them on what this data means, how they can use it, et cetera, et cetera. And really we focus on three main benefits, business benefits, right? Which we call performance-driven merchandising. One is they can improve the profitability of their trade promotions. So when you walk into a store and you see all those displays, a lot of times those lose money. They're expensive. You got to build these beautiful creative units. You got to make sure they get put up in the store. If about 50% of the time they lose money, well, if we can eliminate that waste, these companies really benefit, right? And the consumer and shopper benefits. So that's one example of a pillar of what we call performance-driven merchandising that we educate and train around through the Curie Academy.
You know, I had no idea that those displays, lost money. As a consumer, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But
sure,
yeah, I mean, it makes
you get a price discount. You get 2 for 1, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Guess what? They're pretty much losing money. They're betting on you becoming a loyal customer and buying either other products or repeating your purchase because you liked the product you tried.
Makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
What is the
You got
Curie
it.
Bowl all about?
Yeah, that was a really, kind of a fun way for us to bring performance-driven merchandising to life. So what we did, focused on this last Super Bowl, and we'll do it again this next Super Bowl, is we went into a bunch of Walmart and Target stores, and we looked at the Super Bowl merchandising efforts of all the major beer brands. We also looked at salty snacks and Pepsi and Coke. Basically, think about your living room during the Super Bowl and what's in
Absolutely.
front of you. Right? All that stuff's being merchandised. So to bring performance-driven merchandising to life, the notion of getting these displays in store, making sure they look good, making sure the product's on shelf, all the things we talked about, we brought it to life through the Curie Bowl, and we essentially went and we graded all of these brands and companies on how well they did. And Pepsi was our Curie Bowl winner for 2016. They did an excellent job of having beautiful looking displays that were always present. They kept product in stock, so you went into the store and you could get what you were looking for, pretty important. And we felt like they had the best creative execution, meaning they tied the in-store experience, the physical experience, to their Super Bowl TV ad really effectively, which we thought was cool. So we awarded them the Curie Bowl winner, and we'll do it again next year. It's a fun way to bring to life what Curie's doing. So
Awesome. I love it. And, if we look at the way innovation and technology is today, I love technology. I can tell that you love technology too.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and the fact that we have this type of technology today, it makes this possible and this company possible. And how does that make you feel looking at how far technology has come over the years?
yeah, I mean, look, what I love, I've been in 6 or 8 startups over the last 15, 20 years, so I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, if you will. What I love about what we're doing at Curie is how we've taken this notion of the shared economy and turned it on its head and involved people that are already in store and already have these devices, enlisted them in being essentially part of the company, and most importantly, leverage that concept, that the idea of mobile technology with the shared economy to actually bring tremendous benefit to these 150-year-old companies, taking something and a way of doing business that is a couple hundred years old and completely transforming it. It is, to me, what's really cool and really exciting about Curie and about what we're doing. and it's adding enormous value. I mean, it is a love affair right now with some of these major companies because we've helped them see a way to do business that seems obvious when you and I talk about it. It really comes from a cool evolution of technology in the shared economy.
Absolutely, and I really enjoy talking to you too, James.
Yeah.
Being in digital media world, you know a lot about what's going on out there, and no doubt your background and all your experience is being appreciated by the folks over at Curie. And before we let you go, James, anything else about the company you like for the listeners, consumers, and ones who want to be a part of this movement? Anything else you'd like to articulate?
Yeah, look, I think we covered all the key things. I mean, I would just, if you're interested in getting involved, you can go to the iTunes Store or Google Play and download Easy Shift. It's an app, and you can start to experience this as a shopper yourself. And the other thing I'd encourage everyone to do, especially if you're maybe part of this industry or just simply curious, is go to our website and start to follow what we're doing with what we call the Summer of Merchandising, which is originally, Paul, how you and I got connected. And what we're trying to do is bring this whole concept to life through this big 16-week study where we're looking at 45 brands all summer long. You can download data and information, and it's a little bit geeky. But if you're like me, and we're into that stuff. So I think those are two great ways for people to get involved, and it's a cool evolution we're seeing. I think it's fun for the consumer and the shopper to see. So appreciate your time, Paul.
Hey, no problem. And James, we'll definitely do it again after the Summer of Merchandising, and we'll talk and see how it all went, and we'll spend some more time together. Okay.
All right, man. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, make sure you download the Easy Shift app for your Apple iPhone. You go to your iOS App Store and download it. All you Android lovers out there like myself, go to your Google Play Store and check it out. And like James Lamberty said, wave our phones in the air. Hold our phones in the air and wave them like you just don't care. I got to say it right. We'd like to thank actor Scott Porter for joining me on this edition of the Tech Zone, talking about his love of video games. All-world composer Neil Acree for joining me, and all of our great guests joining on the Tech Zone. We'll talk to you next week. Take care, and remember to connect with me, paulonwheels.com. That's paulonwheels.com. And until next time, have a great day and be good to yourself. And remember to love everyone who's not able to love themselves. Until next time.
It's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.